All right, I suppose it's time to analyze what's been going on at Sony. Oh, please check out my books in the description below. It's time to talk about what Sony is doing with the the PSN account, right? Because for those of you who aren't aware, they pulled back the Helldivers 2 thing, but they are going ahead, full steam ahead with Ghost of Tsushima, right? I think they only retracted the Helldivers thing out of pure like backlash from the community and have no intention of stopping doing this in the future, right? We are going to see the PSN account be tied into Steam accounts for PlayStation published games going forward. And I do think this is an attempt at Sony to try and have some kind of control over Steam, right? This is Sony kind of setting the bar for what I expect them to do is to launch their own storefront on PC, right? Like I think that's probably what their end game goal is, that they're just going to set up their own store on PC, the PlayStation Store, and then just be a Steam competitor on PC, right? Their hardware division is finished, so now they're making the transition to going to PC instead. So what that means is they're they're releasing a bunch of games on Steam first. They're requiring the PSN account to sign in, and when they launch the PSN store, when they launch their PC alternative to Steam, they're just going to be like, "Oh, you want to skip all of these login screens? You don't want to sign into your PSN account? Well, just come over to our launcher. Just come over to our storefront, and you will only have to log in while you're log into the store, right? That's all you'll have to do. Everything else will be automated after that. We are going to streamline the process for you because we care about you, the consumer. Oh, you absolute chads who only play on PlayStation. Oh, like again, it is an attempt at trying to have more control over the user base than they should have. Like they're not used to dealing with people who aren't like the biggest Sony cocksuckers on the planet, right? Like this is an interesting thing. Like the steampunks were not willing to put up with Sony's nonsense, right? The general Sony audience like makes excuses for stuff like Spider-Man or The Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, but like PC gamers weren't having it, right? Like, and I suppose Sony just isn't used to this kind of like insane backlash to other nonsense, right? Like this is kind of unprecedented for them, and I think this kind of rattled them a little bit, right? I do think that like if they were to release this like PC alternative to Steam, like this PlayStation alternative to Steam, like I do think it's gonna fail. Like you're not gonna get anybody moving over to it, right? If Epic with Fortnite couldn't do it, like I can't imagine PlayStation would, especially since nobody actually plays or cares about their games, right? It's remarkable to me how big of a failure Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Days Gone, Spider-Man have been on PC, right? Like they haven't really like set the world on fire in sales. People are, I think PC gamers vastly overestimate just how much PC gamers play games. Because it's laughable to me to see people like try to say that like, oh, Pow World is doing better than Pokemon ever has, when like that clearly wasn't true like at all, right? And like that became apparent within like 2 weeks. But there was this very big like issue where they tried like acting as if Power World was some like viable Pokemon competitor. I think this is going to be an interesting situation because PlayStation really thought there was like this huge untapped market on PC that would just be like vying to play PlayStation games. But I think the reality is that like if you wanted to play any of these games to begin with, you already had a PlayStation, right? If you're excited for Grand Theft Auto 6, you're just going to get a PlayStation, right? Like you don't necessarily get games on PC, right? Again, I think the PC Master Race like is a very loud vocal minority that doesn't actually buy or play games, and I think Sony is finding that out the hard way. And what's more, they're such a vocal minority, they can tank games like purely by like agitating them, right? We saw this happen with Helldivers 2. Like Sony had to walk back like the PSN requirements for that game, but that game's reputation is forever tarnished. It's never going to recover from this, right? And I do think this is going to be a reoccurring pattern. We are seeing like arrogant Sony in full swing. They really think that they're going to like come in and like dominate PC gaming with like the power of their exclusives, and it just isn't going to happen. Like I know Valve can't really compete with PlayStation, but like I do think this is going to be apparent in the next couple of years. I think Nintendo is dominating mobile and NPC in every way, shape, and form, right? When people bring up like the games that are super successful on mobile or PC, it's always like the mobile heavy, like battle pass stuff that like everybody is playing. Like typically what I think happens on PC is that everybody just plays one successful game and sticks with that like forever. And then like they never really migrate to anything else, right? So with it creates this illusion that there's a lot more to play on Steam than there actually is, right? You get like maybe one game every 5 years compared to like Nintendo getting about that much every month, right? Like Nintendo gets more games every week than like Steam gets in a year. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. And I don't think that like PlayStation is gonna have some like major success story on PC, right? We haven't seen it. Like Helldivers 2 was like shill to be that, but again, like it's done now. It's finished. It's not coming back. And they're not going to have anything else like that. Like that was their big flash in the pan success for the year. And their equivalent to Power World. And again, we're on the verge of a new Nintendo console announcement. We're on the verge of a new Nintendo Direct. Like, how exactly are are these flash in the pan successes? Not even successes. Like mild, like spicy, like flavor of the month stuff. Like, how can this stuff like compete with the best video game company in the industry? And the answer is it can't in any way, shape, or form. Like Nintendo is unbeatable at this stage, right? Like I don't think Nintendo is going to be ever going to be diminished as like the king of the console space. They're not going to sell any of their IPs. They're not going to stop producing hardware. They're going to dominate film and adaptions, which people are still in denial about, by the way. People are still pretending that like The Witcher was a good adaptation. Like Nintendo has the most successful video game adaptation ever made, which is the Pokemon anime. And nothing will ever take that away from them. Like in reality, like it's not even really a contest. Nintendo won, and the rest of the industry is struggling to cope with that.